for Leyman, Brett Hudson here for In Layman's Terms on WVUA 90.7 The Capstone. We're going to talk about the preseason first team SEC team that was voted on by all the media here today, and it was released this morning. And Brett, what did you think of the first team just overall? We'll go into some specific names later.
I thought it was pretty well constructed. I'd agree with almost every pick, and like you said, we'll get into some of the more detailed things later. But the one thing that I didn't like most of any team, it wasn't who was snubbed and who got in there that shouldn't have been in there. I thought that there were 243 votes casted by members of the media. 223 had Jadeveon Clowney on it. I want to know what happened to the other 20 ballots. There's no way Jadeveon Clowney isn't one of the top 4 defensive linemen in this league. He's got to be on every ballot.
I think, yeah, not only in the league, but in the country. There's just no doubt. I mean, we talked about his confidence and just obviously his elite ability on the field and everything that he is. And I think there's no reason that he would not be anyone's ballot. Someone was very biased or was hurt by Jadeveon Clowney last year, and they left him off their ballot. But to me, the only one that I thought should have gotten more recognition, while I agree with Mark Cooper and Jordan Matthews is also a smart pick to be, we just talked about him, be a smart #1 team pick. I thought Dante Moncrief should have been on the first team. He really helped just lead that Ole Miss offense into that win streak last year, got them bowl eligible, and obviously the feed Moncrief height is undeniable, and I think this year he's only going to be better. So it was really shocking to me that he was left off the first team.
It was. That's part of the tragedy of the way they structure the first team. There's only 2 wide receiver spots. That's a little tough to manage with, and there are only 3 linebacker spots. I think in a league that's as good defensively as the SEC is, you might want to make way for a 4th linebacker, because there are so many linebackers in this league that deserve recognition that didn't get on the first team because there are only 3 spots for them.
Yeah, and also Deion Blue being one of the starting quarterbacks. Obviously, Deion Blue is an excellent corner for Alabama. We just mentioned how Saban has a way of making cornerbacks who are good become great. But being on the first team with all the other great cornerbacks in the SEC almost seems like a little bit of a stretch for someone who had a very up and down season.
See, I'm not sure about that pick either. And Deion Blue joined Luchez Purifoy, Clinton Dix, and Craig Lawson from LSU. Purifoy being from Florida on the first team defensive backfield. I had those other 3. I had Clinton Dix, Lawson, and Purifoy, but I put in E.J. Gaines as a second corner. He's the corner for Missouri, and while Missouri struggled mightily last year, he showed flashes of being able to take a wide receiver completely out of a game for at least a quarter, if not an entire half or an entire game. So I'm not sure that Deion Blue deserved to be on the first team, although I would have wanted to see him on the second team or so, not on the first team.
Yeah, I picked Victor Hampton to be on the first team. South Carolina defensive back, excellent guy in coverage and as a tackler. But you know, that's the thing. Alabama's a popular team right now because they were picked to win the West by the association and win the SEC. So it's hard not to continuously pick Crimson Tide players with all the elite skill positions they have. But also, I thought that was interesting that Chris Smith, the Arkansas defenseman, made over Kelsey Quarles, defensive tackle / defenseman for South Carolina. I think Quarles is already a very established player. And Chris Smith, though, great personality as we saw yesterday, has not had the elite production or quality production that Quarles has.
You're right, and the voters were kind of put in a bind there because I feel like the top 3 were really easy at defensive line. Jadeveon Clowney, Anthony Johnson at LSU, and Dominique Easley at Florida. The 4th one was tricky. You had to give mention to Kelsey Quarles. You also had to give the guy at Arkansas that eventually got the vote mention as well. I went with Jeffrey Pagan from Alabama. I'm high on him, although he hasn't been an every down defensive tackle just yet. This year's going to be his chance. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to make some people reconsider what they voted on here at SEC Media Days. But that 4th defensive line spot, there wasn't really a right answer for that. There were so many good candidates that it's hard to be upset with whatever happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough to pick with the SEC. It's such a great conference, such a great league on both sides, that you can't. It's hard just to pick one guy for one spot when a lot of teams have guys that we don't know about who will break out next year, and we'll end up on the actual first team. But the preseason is always fun to talk about. But we'll see what happens in the SEC in 2013.